that no one would ever pay me to share my story. The only financial security I would ever have would be through my degree as an occupational therapist. But the thing with that was that my heart was no longer, I was no longer being fueled by doing my degree,
Hmm.
that job. I was being fueled when I would get up on a stage or speak to one of my patients and providing hope, or one of my one on one clients, providing hope and helping them to find a way out.
Right.
But God's voice was always so much stronger, brought me
Mm-hmm.
comfort and peace, didn't have any of the chaos and confusion like my ex husband's voice brought. And April of 2023, God basically brought someone back into my life who had been in my life 6 years earlier. I hadn't
Hmm.
seen this person in over 4.5 years. And I thought to myself, okay, God, if you need me to leave, I need you to give me a sign.
Hmm.
24 hours, no signs came. 36 hours, I received the sign. And I was just like, okay, God, I got it loud and clear. Now, if you need me to leave, I don't know how I'm going to do it. So I need you to help make a way if that's what you need. I
Exactly.
prayed to him as soon as I got the sign. But I've learned that it doesn't happen one way. He
Yeah.
doesn't do all of the work. He moves mountains, but it takes you moving to the door or the window so that you can see the mountains being moved and know the next steps forward. So
Yeah.
as soon as I got done with that prayer, I called my boss at the hospital where I worked as they needed me. It wasn't anything full time. And I was like, okay, I explained my situation and I said, I need to see if I can transfer back to Waco
Hmm.
because I have to get out. I can't stay here because if I stay here, God basically told me, if you stay in this marriage, you're not ever going to be able to fulfill my will for your life.
Right.
And so, less than an hour later, my boss gave me a call. I was able to transfer from Dallas back to Waco. And the next 24 hours, I found a place that I could afford to live. And within 4 days, he made a way where there was no way.
And that's what God does. You
Yep.
have to have undeniable faith and trust
Mm-hmm.
in Him.
Yep.
Because if you ask Him to give you a sign, He's
Mm-hmm.
going to give you that sign.
Yep.
But you got to be willing to move when He says move. And that's been one of the hardest things, I think, for most people to do,
Mm-hmm.
is because they'll reject the answer that God gives when they pray, because
Right.
it doesn't look like what they expect it to look like.
Exactly. Exactly.
And
Well,
he can't
but
do that.
that it also takes learning how to live open to all of the possibilities.
Yes.
Like 25 years ago, or at the age of 7, my dream was being on a stage, but it
Hmm.
was singing, using my
Yeah.
voice and being on a stage to touch people.
Hmm.
Um, my dream is still the same, being on stages, but it's not singing. It's connecting with my voice and letting him speak through me so that I can help empower, encourage, and be the voice of hope for everybody in this world, just as he was the voice of hope for me all those
Exactly.
years ago.
I was telling a coworker yesterday, as a matter of fact, we were talking about how God has a great sense of humor. And it was a joke that I saw in the comic when I was about 12 years old. And it was, if you ever want to know how God's sense of humor works, is tell him your plans and watch how he changes them.
Yep,
And it was one of those things where it's like, okay, you may have plans for the next day or whatever, or you may have plans for the future and you may have it planned out a certain way. And just like you said, your plan was to be on stage and to use your voice to sing. God is using your
yep,
voice to be on stages, but it's not for singing. And you would have
exactly.
never even thought of it in that way. And God is God all by himself, and the plans that he has for us is exactly what it
Yep.
is. He never has made a mistake in the
Mm-hmm.
plans that he has for us. It's just for us to be obedient to his
Exactly.
instructions. And
Yep.
when we can be obedient, God knows that he has us the way that we want. We get distracted. We try to
Mhm.
do our own thing sometimes. And God is like,
He
I'm going to let
comes
you go
chasing
ahead.
after
Yeah.
us. He comes chasing after us. Nope. I made the choice to get in that marriage, but he knew that was going to happen. And that's why in
Hmm.
2017, he brought someone into my life. It was
Hmm.
actually the first person who ever truly saw me. It was the first
Hmm.
outsider who actually saw my heart and believed in me and wouldn't let me forget it. And 2 months after I met this person, he spoke to me about him and he said, I brought you two together to bring you both closer to me. You have to tell him this. You have to tell him that you love him and I love him.